Hello, beautiful people. It is I, Megan, aka the Poor Doctor, and today we're gonna study for the lovely CBMT. I got my, first of all, and my study gear on, just to let everybody know. I dress in a nice comfy sweatshirt. These are, I do not wear glasses. These are computer glasses because when I study, everything is on a screen. And then I wear a hat, of course, and my hair tied back and whatever. So this is my study attire. I do get really into studying. I kind of try to set the mood in my room. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail as we continue on, but why don't we jump in to our Music Therapy Association board certification. So back in the day when I was studying for my board certification, there was nothing. There was like no resources whatsoever, and it was extremely frustrating. I mean, like, we had the Facebook page and all that fun stuff, but it just, like, I felt like I was getting more distracted from the Facebook page than like I was from the actual material. So I wanted to create this channel because, first of all, I mean, I have to go through this stuff anyway, and I might as well record it for those of you who are studying, soon to be music therapists. For those of you who already have your CBMT, first of all, congrats to you, because that's like a really hard exam. And second of all, stay tuned because you might learn something that you didn't know before. So why don't we dive in? American Music Therapy Association Professional Competencies. So back when I was a freshman undergrad and my professor said competencies, I wanted to take a shot every single time it was mentioned. But then when I was studying for the exam, I mean, these competencies are extremely important, and they're honestly gonna make the difference between the right answer and the best possible answer if you follow the competencies when answering questions. So I'm going to go through the first part of them today. This video is going to be like 30 minutes, and then, definitely take a break. So we're going to start here. I have the competencies printed out, and then I also wrote them in my own words. So I'm going to read the ones that I wrote in my own words. There we go. Okay, so first things first, we have American Music Therapy Association. Was formed in January 1st, 1998 in New York. You don't really need to know that for the exam. So, professional level of practice. It's based on the music therapy competencies. Then what we have is that it's an assembly. It goes through the basis, blah, blah, blah. It talks about a music therapist at a professional level of practice has a bachelor's degree or an equivalent in music therapy plus a professional accreditation in music therapy. That's what we're studying to get. Oh boy. Okay, so the first basis of competencies, NODA, is music therapy foundations, music theory, and history. So the first one that it goes through here is recognize standard works in literature. So then identify the elemental, structural, and stylistic characteristics of music from various periods and culture. Sing melodies, diatonic and chromatic, take oral dictation of melodies, rhythms, and chord progressions, transpose simple compositions. So this is the basis. I mean, my undergrad was mostly musical developmental, and then we learned about therapy once our musical skills were up to par. So this is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, as a music therapist, you definitely need to know, first of all, you need to know all of the periods of music. You need to know all the different genres of music, because you never really know what a client's gonna like or what's gonna spark a client. Like, I had this one client who literally wouldn't talk to us unless we played Love Potion number 9. first of all, like, that song is such like a one-hit wonder. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could be pro in all the genres, but then he liked a one-hit wonder. So it's really important to know all the different periods, and then you have to identify the style so accurately in order for it to click with the client. Sing melodies, both diatonic and chromatic, and then oral dictation. You guys should do that in oral skills. Transpose simple compositions. That should also be on your skills evaluations. Moving on, we have composition and arranging skills. This is my least favorite part about music therapy. I am a performer, not a musician. I don't like to write songs. Just kidding. Okay, so compose songs with a simple accompaniment. So I always use 1-4-2-5 or 1-4-5. That's always a simple one. Adapt, arrange, transpose, and simplify music compositions for small voice and symphonic instrument ensembles. I'm going to continue on to major performance medium skills. Perform appropriate undergraduate repertoire, demonstrate musicianship, technical proficiency, interpret understanding, principle of instrument, and then perform in small and large ensembles. So most of the stuff you're not going to see on the exam, but you will see, actually you won't compose a song with a simple accompaniment, but you will see the whole, like, what chord progression matches this accompaniment, or there's a couple where it's like a melody line and then you kind of have to adapt it to or transpose it. I mean, they could really ask you anything. They could say adapt, they could say arrange, they could say transpose, but I think for me, I think I got transpose, and then I definitely got the accompaniment question. So those are the two. Underneath composition and arranging skills, those are the two that you will definitely see 1 or 2 questions. The performance one, that's like a school thing. Moving on to functional music skills. All right. Demonstrate a basic foundation on piano, guitar, and percussion. Lead and accompany proficiently on these instruments. Then play basic chord progressions in several major and minor keys. Play and sing a basic repertoire of, here's the important part, traditional, folk, popular songs with and without printed music. Sing in tune, this one cracks me up, sing in tune with a pleasant quality and adequate volume. Pleasant quality, like, that could be anybody could technically have a pleasant quality. Sight read and simple compositions and song accompaniments. Harmonize, transpose simple compositions. Tune stringed instruments. Utilize basic percussion techniques. Develop original melodies, simple accompaniments, short pieces in different moods, styles, vocally and instrumentally. Improvise on pitched and unpitched instruments. And then care and maintain instruments. Okay, so the most important parts out of this question, for sure, play and sing basic repertoire of traditional, folk, popular songs with and without printed music. That is like number 1. You need to know all the songs, okay? Like, if you can go to a bar and sit through like 5 different bands and you know all of those songs, or at least 85% of the songs that are played that night drunk, you'll pass, okay? But that's really important, especially the with and without printed music. I remember in practicum, they always I don't like memorizing music, okay? Like, I'm a flute player, we don't memorize our music, but I remember in practicum, they always used to get mad at me for not memorizing my music. And sure enough, I got thrown into several situations where I had to play without music, and it was horrible. So the sooner you can do it, the better. And then the next one Well, develop original melody, simple accompaniments. Again, the simple accompaniments is for sure on the exam. The original melodies is more in practice. And then the improv is also more in practice. But I would say for the exam, play and sing traditional folk popular songs, and then the simple accompaniments are both on the exam. Moving on, conducting skills. I do not remember there being a conducting question on there, but we'll go through it anyway. Conduct basic patterns with technical accuracy, and conduct small and large vocal and instrumental ensembles. Honestly, if you're doing a therapy choir, just keep it simple. Like, pick songs. I mean, when I did my therapy choir, it was classic rock, and that was all 4/4. So as long as you knew 4/4, you were fine. Again, that's not on the exam. Movement skills. Direct, structured, and improvisational musical experiences. That was actually the best type of session. I like to lead movement to music sessions. And then move in a structured or improv manner for expressive purposes. I think there might be one question on the exam talking about, should you move structurally for this clientele, or should you move this way? Like, I think there was one question, but we'll get into that a little bit later because it was a situational one where this basics wouldn't really answer it. All right, we got through music theory and music history. There's literally nothing about music history, which kind of sucks because I was apparently good at music history. Moving on, we have clinical foundations. Here we go. Here's like majority of the questions. So, clinical foundations. We have therapeutic application. Demonstrate basic knowledge of potential limitations and problems of populations. Demonstrate basic knowledge of causes, symptoms, and basic terminology used in medical, mental health, and educational classifications. Demonstrate basic knowledge of typical and atypical human systems of development. Demonstrate basic understanding of primary neurological processes in the brain. Okay, so here's the deal, therapeutic applications. When you go for jobs, nobody knows what a music therapist is, okay? But to top it off, not only do they not know what it is, they don't know how smart you actually are. Do you know how many times I had to advocate for myself and tell people I was a medical professional? Like, everybody just sees music. Oh, volunteer. No, I'm not a volunteer. I literally know basic terminology used in medicine. So anyway, that's really important. Basic knowledge of medical, mental health, and educational classifications. That's really important for in advocation. And then we have basic knowledge of typical and atypical human systems and development. I'm going to go through those. So, basic knowledge of human systems. We have anatomical, we have physiological, can't even pronounce that word, psychological, and social. So we all know psychological is mental health. Social is going to be our interaction, or really, honestly, in terms of our clients, it's more client interaction. And then physiological is going to be our heartbeat, heart rate. And then anatomical, I'm going to type this up so that way I can give you a better definition of anatomical than the one I have written here. Anatomical here refers to bone, bodily structures. I'm just going to read like an example. Anatomy is the branch of biology concerned with the study of organisms and their parts. So the reason why this is important for us to know, physiological and anatomical are really, really important, not only for advocacy, but like as a music therapist, you work with very, very ill people. And like, I never knew in a million years as a music therapist, I was going to have to like give medication out or transfer people to the bathroom. Like, I didn't know that that was the job of a music therapist, but in some places it is. So that's why it's really important to know both of those: medical terminology, mental health terminology, education, education in terms of music and educating others. And then, of course, atypical and typical human systems and development. The last one, neurological processes of the brain. That was really important for me because I was interested in a traumatic or traumatic brain injury. But that's not important for everybody. That was not on the exam. Nothing, unfortunately, nothing about brain injury was on the exam, okay? Not on mine, at least. All right, therapeutic principles. So we have knowledge of dynamics and the process of client-therapist relationship, dynamics and processes of therapy groups, and then accepted methods of major therapeutic approaches. All three of these, like you need to use these three therapeutic principles when answering majority of the situational questions. Like, what are they asking for? Are they asking for therapist and client relationship? Are they asking for therapy groups? Are they asking for therapeutic approaches? Okay, so those three are extremely important. Therapeutic relationship. Recognize the impact of feelings, attitudes, and actions on the client and the therapy process. I feel like that's like beaten. I feel like my professors just beat that to death. The whole like what is it called? The projection. When the client I'm just blanking. Whatever. So anyway, the whole projection thing of attitudes, feelings, and actions, I feel like that's like beaten to death. Maintain interpersonal relationship with clients and team members. Inter, I-N-T-E-R, is relationship between other people. Think like I-N-T-E-R. The E is between, like there's an E in between. So interpersonal is a relationship between two or more people. All right, so you have to make sure that your relationship with the clients and your fellow team members are appropriate to the therapy session. All right, we're moving on here. We still have in the same category of therapeutic relationship, we have use oneself effectively in the therapist role within both group and individual. So they're saying to be effective and appropriate when disclosing, showing authenticity and empathy to make sure it's based on the therapeutic outcomes. I'm going to come back to that one. Utilize the dynamics and process of the group to achieve therapeutic goals. Demonstrate awareness of the influence of race, ethnicity, language, marital status, religion, gender identity, expression, gender expression, sexual orientation, age, ability, socioeconomic status, political affiliation, and the therapeutic process. Okay, so let me just talk about this one. Demonstrate awareness of the influence of, and then it just lists. So when I was working, a lot of our clients, they were like 50s to 60s, so they definitely had like an older life view. And their political affiliations used to kind of cause drama in the group between clients. We didn't have much gender identity, sexual identity issues between clients, but there were issues between like staff and client, or I should say clients and staff, of course, because the staff didn't do anything to the clients. So just keep that in mind, that like sometimes clients will choose to work with other staff members because of your gender identity. It happens in the medical field all the time, and like it has happened to me multiple times. I mean, I never show anything to the clients, but like I am expressive. I'm a musician, so like I got lots of piercings. I have colorful hair sometimes, and actually that can kind of cause bias between like clients when you're working with several people. And then it happens to doctors and nurses all the time, like those who have tattoos or those who like wear LGBTQ, around their neck or around their badge. Sometimes certain clients will be like, I don't want this nurse, or I don't want this music therapist, her hair is pink, or I want this music therapist, her hair is pink. So just keep that's like something in general, like that's like medical community in general. Just be aware of how you display yourself to the clients, because they have, unfortunately, they have every right to judge you, and they can refuse treatment if you show something that they're not okay with. As horrible as it sounds, like they can't judge you in the hiring community, but clients can certainly still judge you. All right, and the most important part in this little like section here, again, we're in therapeutic relationships. We have effectively and appropriately self-disclose. I have a hard time of disclosing myself way too much because I like to talk about myself. But it is important that when you do use self-disclosure, like use it in a relative way. I mean, I always used to tell my clients, like, they would talk about their time in band, and I remember this one girl would always be like, I play clarinet. And then I'd be like, I got a soft spot for woodwinds. I used to play flute. And it's like, that's okay, because it would like kind of lighten the mood and bring on a joke. But you can't be like, oh, I went out on Saturday. Oh, I went out last night. I only got 3 hours of sleep. Oh, I was up doing a paper. I'm really tired, guys. You can't like be disclosing that to the clients. So anyway, so we are pretty much done. Just to wrap up, because we have a couple more minutes, I'm doing these in 25-minute chunks, so that way you could follow the Pomodoro method while you're studying. Okay, so we went through music theory and music history. In terms of the exam, you are going to have to pick a chord progression based on a melody line. Okay, composing and arranging are not necessarily tested in a question. Major performance medium skills are not tested in a question. Functional music skills, basic repertoire is tested. Some info on piano and guitar is tested. And then the other tunings, which we'll go into in more detail, the open tunings for guitar and the guitar chords to use, that's tested. Moving on, conducting skills are not necessarily tested. Movement skills are not necessarily tested. Okay. Clinical foundations, we have basic terminology. You definitely need to know like what's Parkinson's, what's dementia versus Alzheimer's, what are the differences, what's palliative care, that kind of basic terminology, which we'll go into in another video. Any knowledge on mental health, any knowledge on musical education, atypical and typical human systems is definitely tested. Then we have the dynamics of client therapist, client therapy groups, and major approaches. That is all tested in situational based questions. And last but not least, we have recognized feelings of transference. That's the word, transference. That's definitely a question. We have efficient and appropriate self-disclosure, and then be aware of race. Those two areas are kind of more in practice than in question. So I left off here at number C, music therapy, foundations and principles, and that's where we're going to pick up in our next video. So take a break. I will see you later. Bye. Remember, we're healing one note at a time.